Hey, how you going, Rob?
Hey, Scotty, how you doing, buddy? Cheers, man.
Love that introduction. It gets me
Yeah,
going.
yeah,
Cheers.
cheers. That intro is awesome.
Gets me-
It's a lot of energy and excitement there. It's great to be out here, right? We get to talk a bit about what's coming up next week with the eve of American Thanksgiving, our tasting party, on the 24th from 7 to
Yep.
9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're watching this is a great way to get engaged and to kick off your holiday season. Think about it. You get together with friends. You can actually invite a few friends over for this if you want to double up on the wine or beer, but one full bottle of wine and a beer, you have two bottles of wine and a beer on the table. That should take care of three of you very nicely for the party itself and just enjoy it. You're not there to get inebriated. You're there to learn a lot about it, but you expand this to some friends. And this is cool because Thanksgiving is about sharing, right? And then it ties into the holiday season and the giving of Christmas time.
Yeah, well, look, I can't wait. I mean, so it's the eve of Thanksgiving. But, like we all enjoy a light beer or a wine. When I say we all, most of us do. But, I got a little challenge for you today, right? So
Sure.
this is my stable beer over here in Australia, right? It's the 4X Gold. It's only a
Okay.
mid-strength, but it's like a
Mhm.
stable beer. Now, a lot of guys don't like it because they think it's light beer and they prefer the heavy beer. But it's just my stable beer. And the other challenge I got for you too is from the Barossa Valley, a Cab Sav.
Okay.
Okay, so a little challenge for you to come up with, a little bit more detail about that. Cat Amongst the Pigeons, it's called. Not a bad little drop. I had
Cool.
some on the
I've never
weekend.
had
So,
that particular wine, but I've had Barossa Cab. It's, a lot of jammy dark fruit notes in that one.
so next Thursday or next day, what is it? Wednesday evening. Sorry. We're going to go through some American wines. What have you got on the agenda for next
Well,
Wednesday?
the American, it's great because you actually have a Cabernet Sauvignon. So Cabernet Sauvignon is one of the grapes we're talking about. That's what you have from Barossa Valley in
Yep.
your hand. And then, of course, we're talking about Chardonnay. I mean, the epic white Burgundy. We're going to get into these are noble grape varieties, both of them. Cabernet Sauvignon is the most widely planted grape worldwide. I think it's like 830 some odd thousand acres under vine. Just to give you an idea, that covers Bordeaux's, all of Bordeaux's production over almost 3 times. And Bordeaux's a monstrous. I think it might actually be the biggest wine producing region in the world by acreage, pretty close to it. It's and then we talk about stouts, and stouts are great Christmas beers because they got nuttiness, they have that espresso coffee, sometimes mocha flavors to them. They can have some.
I'm
They
always
can go from
amazed when you say that it's got these flavors, and I got no idea how you
yeah,
even recognize that stuff.
yeah. Well, we could talk a bit about that actually because I've got to hear a Belgian wit beer, and
I
Belgian wit
love.
beers almost look like a lighter pale ale. Like if you get into true pale ales, they're slightly lighter, but they're close to, they're almost laterals of each other because they carry similar body, similar visual characteristics. But the difference in this one is you're not getting those piney grapefruit notes up into rich mango notes with like a pungent sour or bitter aftertaste hitting you from the hops. You're in some cases with American IPAs, right? But in this one, you're getting something that's much softer. There's taste. I always get stewed. You get coriander, but stewed clove is one of the flavors that comes out of this, and it just comes a lot from yeasts and fermentation. Flavor esters are often yeast driven. They can be malts driven, and they can also be hops driven. And the Belgians typically can add things like rock candy to their beer as well. It's like extra adjuncts that they can add to it. So there's a lot you can really do. It's quite cool.
I I I like this because it's just like a normal beer without getting drunk. So it's just a everyday Aussie beer. Most people around the world think we all drink Foster's beer. I don't know why. It was a really good campaign in the 80s or the 90s. But now 4X for me is a light mid strength. I'm not sure, Rob. Do you drink much mid strength or?
Are you looking at a gold as in a lager there? Is it a gold ale?
See, now you're
What's the
complicating
alcohol?
things, right?
What's the alcohol percentage on that? Is it
This is
5
the
or is
mere
it
male,
5?
right? This is the mere male in me, right? I think it's like 3.5%. I don't know if it's an
Oh,
ale or a
that's a very
lager
light
there. But
lager. Oh yeah, you're looking at a really light lager.
it
They
says
tend to
lager
be
on it. There you go. I've just learned
yeah,
something
light
today.
lager, but 3.5%.
It
That's
says
you're in the
lager.
lager territory. Perfect. Sometimes when you see gold on a can, I'm not familiar with that brand, right? So sometimes gold can indicate like a golden or a blonde ale in a can or a bottle? Because you can use the term interchangeably for marketing purposes. And it's not a misdirect because both apply to them. I mean, that's just a golden light lager, basically. Very easy to drink. It's what they call bottom fermented. So it's fermented like white wine at cooler temperatures, and it restricts the flavors. When you ferment something in cooler temperatures, the flavor notes don't expand out as much as, say, something like this with a Belgian wit beer, which is a wheat ale. You know, it's these types of beers have a lot more expression of flavor. Lagers, you want something citrusy, crisp, refreshing, and you want it to go down fast to quench your thirst. I mean, that's the purpose of that beer.
Yeah. And next Wednesday evening, what are we going to discuss in America again? More around the lager, isn't it?
Well, we're going to talk. No, we're talking about the stout. So we're going to get into
the heavy beer.
Yeah, well, stouts can be very light. They can be nitrogenated. Well, a lot of them are, but you get into Guinness, for instance, which is only about 4.2%. And then you can get into Russian Imperial stouts, which are like 10%. They're almost like a barley wine going in you. Like, I mean, these are opulent beers. They're rich. They're deep. You even get flavors like Turkish Delight developing into it. It's a lot of heat, a lot of body, a lot of alcohol, a lot of extract in that beer.
I got sent a picture of someone that had, I think in America they call it peanut butter and jelly, but in Australia we call it peanut butter and jam. And it was a beer with that flavor, and I've gone, now we're talking, because that's my favorite, right?
That'd be cool, actually. Yeah, I mean, that'd be a big hit in a lot of places. Depends on the beer too. You know, it's what it's how well the style is developed. You know, and it's like when you go and study wine, and we're going to another end of what we cover here now on the topic, but one of my great mentors, Jennifer Simonati Bryant, talks about this in her blind tasting X course. And it's when you look at how well things are integrated or how concentrated they are, that gives a very good indication if something's really well developed, right? And these are things that you look at.
I'm still amazed how you actually come up with things like the flavors and, you know, what'd you call it before? Raspberry or something in the beer. And I'm going like, how do you actually find that stuff? I didn't even know I was drinking a lager till today.
You know what helps a bit too is if you pick up ingredients you want to learn how to smell more of. If you don't understand what coriander smells like, grab the crop in the grocery store. Grab a little head of it, smell it. You'll get a fresh scent of it. Or if it's ground in the herb counter in the herb section. I mean, there's sensory kits that you can buy that actually improve your sensory perception. And you could work on this, and chefs do this by tasting individual ingredients and things, but you can do this with wine or beer by saying, well, you know what? If I'm confused on nutmeg to cinnamon, well, I'm going to sit down and taste a bit of cinnamon. Then I'm going to taste a bit of nutmeg raw. And then perhaps I'm going to stew it or steep it or cook with it and just see the variances, because it'll actually pick out. Once you taste that distinct ingredient, you can taste it in other things. I mean, palates do have memory, and they do develop over time.
Wow. Now that's way more thought went into that than I ever thought happened. The more you know you need to know, right? Or the more you
how little you really know in the grand spectrum as you learn more. If you go wide, you're like, man, this is beyond deep. Like I could spend 100 lifetimes digging through all the facts and information on a subject.
So I'll let you stay the expert on that side, man. As far as the beer and wine smellier goes, that's all yours.
Yeah, I know, it's a lot of fun. I love it. And it gets people excited because, again, you're talking about joy and celebration. You put a cold drink or a nice full-bodied glass of wine in somebody's hand, and they're excited about it.
Yeah. And it's funny, like, it's like the telephone. You know, we have the telephone. None of us really know how it works, right? We just push the buttons in and we talk to someone on the other side of the world, right, if we want to. But no one really knows how it goes from the phone to the tower to wherever it goes, back down another tower. But no one really knows. No one really cares. Well, beer and wine for me is exactly the same. I can go, yep, oh, that tastes good. Yeah, no worries. I'll stick to that tonight. Now I could try something new.
Well,
I just don't understand the reasons. And this is what next week when we get together, I really want you to help us out with some of those reasons. And what am I really tasting? So if I open this one, I know this is heavier than the Pinot we challenged with last week. I know it's a heavier wine, but I still don't understand. So next week I'm looking forward to learning how you're going to teach us to taste some of that or to know the difference with some of that.
Yes, and it's like grades on a wheel. You actually have a color wheel. I'm going to find one and bring it up and showcase it. I have one for beer, but it'll show you sort of how to spot and pinpoint things within an open forum tasting, which is really what this is, right? Because we know what we're drinking. So it's fun to share that because this is what gets people excited. I mean, blind tasting's a different animal completely. You have to understand, like, you have to have a palate that's pretty well calibrated. So it's just calibrated so that, a well calibrated palate takes time, and it takes time to figure out what sort of sits in the middle of things. And, that's a whole different ball of wax. People are mostly excited about sitting down on the guided through tastings to learn and pinpoint some of this stuff, just to have fun with it.
Yeah. And you got a few people in the chat room too, Rob. One of them here, what's go with the Santa hat in November?
Well, once we get past Remembrance Day in Canada, it's the Christmas or holiday season that pops up. I mean, stores are decked with all this stuff all over it now.
Are they?
They've been the holiday sales are coming up. Oh yeah, I mean, they're already talking about Black Friday sales, and that's a prelude to the holiday. For those of you who don't understand what Black Friday is, that's 2 days after this event. So this event launches. This is a part of a launch party, in my estimation, for, my American friends. This is a great way. Most of them are not working Thursday. Usually they have massive dinners. They watch a series of 3 great football games. Usually Dallas and Detroit are always featured in it. And then, of course, you get into the food and drink aspect. A turkey rolls out. I mean, this event is a great prelude to that, and to the start of the holiday season, which is really American Thanksgiving in the United States. Ours really starts, as I said a bit earlier on, November 11th.
Yeah, no, it's good. But look, I'm looking forward to it. Any other plug you want to put for Thanksgiving Eve next week for the US and Canada markets? Like everyone over there, all our friends that we look forward to seeing.
Well, you know what? Here you can bring your own wine. And beer. So it's just suggested to have a Cabernet or a Chardonnay. You can have it oaked or unoaked. I mean, you can have various styles. These varietals do well in many or a multitude of regions across the globe. And this is why they're part of the noble grape varieties, globally speaking. You're talking about the number 1 cultivated wine or grape in Cabernet Sauvignon. And I believe it's about number 5, but it's the number 2 grape. Might even be number 6, which is where Chardonnay sits globally, but it's number 2 as far as the most produced white wines in the world. So lots of regions. You got a lot of options. Stouts, they come in a variety of styles. It was the first real industrial style that was propagated by the British Empire. You can find a ton of styles there too. So it opens it up to everybody. And it's only $20 to be a part of this. And you think about it, you can spend really probably $40 on all of the wines that you need at a budget price, or even a little less. And you can invite a couple friends over to just chip in on it with you and just drink and have a good time and kick off the festivities.
Well, I'm looking forward to learning more about how and why things are done. Like I said, I'm a pure amateur. It's 30 years of drinking and I still know nothing about it.
Well, Barossa has great Cabernet Sauvignon, very jammy. Lots of dark, rich notes to it. Depends on what type of barreling they aged it in. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into wine, right? It's length of time in barrel, length of time in bottle, where the grapes are grown, what part of the slope they're growing, what kind of landscape they're sitting in. There's just so many factors that go into it. Yeah. Breweries, I tell you, are a lot easier to own and operate. We talk a bit about that in the segment for fun and kicks too. But no, we're just gonna have a laugh. I mean, this is what this is about. When you gauge in events, when you engage, the beauty of this is that it goes borderless. So this is going to spam continentally across North America. Even if you're in Mexico, you can tune right in. Why not?
Get out the old Corona beer, it's in America. We went to Mexico, and it was only $1 a beer sitting on the beach. It was just like, how good's this stuff? Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Hey, listen, mate, we'll wrap up. So next Wednesday evening, check local times, check system 1357 and the live events for what time it is in your time zone. But scheduled to be 7 p.m. Was that EST? Was that right?
Yeah, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Eastern Standard Time. Yep, cool. I know it's 11 a.m. my time or something, but apart from that. So I'll have to have a lunchtime wine with you so you can tell me all about it.
For sure. And
maybe I may be in the caravan or here. I'm not sure, but I could be on the road or I could be here. But we'll work all that out. No big deal.
Awesome.
So, and
All
I
right.
don't think I'll wear the Santa hat though. Just so you know.
That's all right. But it is. We're kicking off the festive occasion now. This is why this hat's on my head.
Well, it's the festival season coming up. In fact, I just wrote an email today to everyone at the hub down there. We're going to be putting on drinks for Christmas in only like 2 weeks' time. It's like, wow, gee, that's coming fast, for the season coming up. And
people are starting to plan their holiday parties already and their holiday trips and vacations. They're getting into the travel agents online and whatnot and booking things right now. So, this is it.
This is the season. This is the season. So anyway, looking forward to everyone else coming along. It's a $20 shout out to Rob to come along and chew his ear and find out more about what he knows and, find out how to actually tell the difference between a lager and any other wine that you want to choose or any other challenge. It doesn't matter. Every single time I talk to Rob, I just am amazed how he comes up with knowledge and experience that he's got. But I guess he's an expert, and that's what you expect. So any other final things? Otherwise, Rob, mate, we'll wrap up. I've got another appointment I've got to go to. Anything else in closing?
No, just a big shout out to Tim Sohn. I was watching. We delayed this a little bit because he had a terrific show on talking about surviving cancer, and that takes a lot of courage. Big shout out to him, my friend, and much love to everybody viewing this. Thank you.
All right, we'll see you next Wednesday evening, Rob. Looking forward to
absolutely.
it. All right,
looking forward to it.
See everyone. Cheers.
Cheers.